We're live. Uh,
Good night, good night to the
oh, shit.
Belizean people at home and abroad. Welcome to this our 79th edition of Belizean Affair. Sitting virtually with me is Mr. Roody and our tonight's chairman, Mr. Leonard Brackett. With that said, let me turn it over to these gentlemen for our repair and our reading.
Mr. Wade?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for that warm introduction, and I'll go straight to the, Mr. Chairman. I'll go straight to the reading. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll continue from Deuteronomy 21 to 30. Says, and when many evils and troubles have come upon them, this song shall confront them as a witness, for it will live unforgotten in the mouth of their offsprings. For I know what they are inclined to do even today, before I have brought them into the land I swear to give. So Moses wrote the song the same day and taught it to the people of Israel. And the Lord commissioned Joshua, the son of Nun, and said, be strong and courageous, for you shall bring the people of Israel into the land that I have sworn to give them, and I will be with you. When Moses has finished written the words of this law in a book to the very end, Moses commanded the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, take this book of the law and put it by the side of the ark of covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against you. For you know, for you, for now, for I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Behold, even today, while I am yet alive with you, you have been rebellious against the Lord. How much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of the tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death, you will surely act corruptly and turn aside from the way I have commanded you. And in the days to come, evil will befall you, because you will do what is evil in the sight of the Lord, provoking him to anger through the works of your hands. Then Moses spoke the words of this song until they were finished in the ears of all assembled of Israel. That's my reading from Deuteronomy.
Um,
Thank you for reading, Mr. Wade.
Um, we always start our show with a prayer. Lord God Almighty, we pray for your mercy to give us courage, strength, wisdom, understanding, the will to speak truth, to love people and nation. We pray for closure for all who awaits for equal justice, for a godly nation, and for our leaders to turn from their wicked ways. We pray that our nation and people continue to be under your protection. We pray for healing for the sick, for those who are in need, for our elders, for our poor and less fortunate, and for our mothers and infants, and for all those who have been wrongfully accused. We pray for our our loved ones who had left us. We pray for the killings to stop and for the war to stop and the senseless killing of innocent civilians. We pray
Amen.
for our elected leaders to stop lying to the people and educate them instead with truth and compassion and show them that we are a godly nation. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for your reading of the scripture and your eloquent supplication and prayer on behalf of our country and the rest of humanity, as well as on behalf of our program. Uh, Tonight's program being Friday, we will go into a little bit of constitutional uh, breaches and the breaches of the government in regards to its responsibility to the people and the people's purse. Uh, we recently had the occasion to have the Prime Minister pronounced on this grand resolution of all the loose ends and issues or problems that we have had with the Ashcroft alliances and how he was going to go about resolving them because we had lost some lawsuits with him before. He was in the process of filing additional lawsuits against the government because the government doesn't want to give him a chance to do his port development. The stipulation is that they're settling all outstanding matters with this good gentleman. And while that's a stipulation by the Prime Minister and the government itself, I personally beg to differ because I happen to know that that is not the only things that they're settling for.
Truth on that.
And I have a concern that they're settling these matters with our treasury. They're coming to the house and they're asking for money to fulfill these obligations that they made behind the scene with this man. And at every step of the way, this man is getting ahead of us and getting money out of us, money that the government does not have and does not make available, even if they have, to take care of the needs of the population, to develop the country, to help relieve the poverty of the country, and to do the basic things that the population of the country needs to be done on its behalf. Then go on ahead and take 10% from the teachers and the rest of the civil servants them. Only for raise money, you're going to give Mr. Ashcroft $76 million.
76, yeah.
One big swap. Then squeeze everybody to make sure they could get that money. Then squeeze everybody when they buy gas, then raise the price of gas, then did all kind of skullduggery to come up with that money. So the people suffer while then they settle their accounts with this man. The $76 million was not enough to settle any accounts. It was just a part payment of what was to come. Subsequently, we now get to find out that because we are going to get back the port under we control and out of the receivership, because we're going to pay whatever was left outstanding to this man, at least that's the way they put it. Then said that the man value, when Jules Vasquez put up his numbers on his program, he showed that Mr. Ashcroft valued the present port about $500 and something million. $500 million. And our government is pretending that because the man decided to take less than $500 million, that we are getting a break. The man never lent Mr. Espat no $500 million. And when Mr. Espat me borrow from the man was less than $40 million. So all the government needed was to find out from Mr. Espat how much he borrowed how much he may end up to pay, how much was the balance, and run that balance with interest from the time the man had the port in receivership. Calculate how much that amount of money come up to. Turn around and figure out how much money the man collected over that same period of time. They were saying that it was about 13 plus something $1 million a year. If it was 11 years, that's 13 times 11. That's almost 140 to $150 million, right? So he would have gotten 140 minimum for lending less than 40 or about 40, which means that he would have been paid 3 times over. So for all intents and purposes, the man never need to collect no more money from we. He don't get $40 million where he lend a spot 3 times over. But he want value it for report at $500 million and turn around and say, if you give him a break, to take less than 500 million. And for we knucklehead prime minister as minister of finance, where the man supposed to run for we financial affairs, when come out here and tell we like if we don't know better how arithmetic run, basic arithmetic. We don't talk about no economics, we don't talk about no fancy numbers. Basic economics. How much the man lend Mr. Espat? When Mr. Espat mortgage the port for, well, he shouldn't have been do because you know he never won the port. He never paid for it. Nevertheless, the amount of money that Mr. Espat may get is the difference of what Mr. Espat paid Mr. Ashcroft, and the difference between what Mr. Ashcroft get out of the port and a receivership until he get settled should be accounted for. And that's 40 million approximately when Mr. Espat, I think that 38 million if I must be exact, where he actually borrowed. Take out that $40 million approximately from the $140 million where Mr. Ashcroft get, because that $140 million was money that belonged to the government. Therefore, his settlement should have been out of that $140 million, paying back the difference away where he never get to collect. Satisfy his mortgage or his the money where Mr. Spatman get for now. And then the difference should have gone back into the treasury. Now then it's all craziness about the man they accept up front. Then it said that the man will accept one settlement of about $209 million to settle everything, including the 500 million plus where he said the port cost. He don't want the port, so he can't value what the port value, and he tries like he pretend that he can sell that back to we, sell it back with one good. And that way the prime minister he use words like buy back, that we they buy back for report from this man. Does he not understand what they say when he said that? He did lie to people to make people believe, okay, well, this man owned the port. He have a right and ownership to the port. Because receivership, as far as the prime minister is concerned, by conflating what he's saying, means that the man not only have the port and a receivership, he actually own it. He never did pay for it. Mr. Espat never did pay for it. So we, the people, still own it. And that is my reason for proposing a long time ago, over and over on this show, that they should go and get back report, figure out how much money is outstanding, and go and get back report. I'm happy we're getting it back, but I'm not happy about how they negotiated the deal. They can't give us a bad deal. Out of that $209 million that they're talking about, $90 million in Belize money, which would have been like $45 million US, the prime minister is saying the man is willing to accept up front. And then they again the other rest, like another 125 almost $125 million in a 5 tranches, one every year for 5 years. Which means that approximately the man will get almost $25 more million per year. After you accept this $40 million US, 45 million US upfront. For the next 5 years, you're gonna get twice as much as you may get out of the port currently. Currently, then they say, according to the numbers, that the man was getting some $13 million out of the port. Now then they offer 25. That means that they squeeze the people more to come up with more money to give this man. And then they tell you creationists that then they make some deal behind the scene to cover all the expenses and all the entanglement we have with this man. Then they cover for their own expenses where they owe the man money for political campaign financing. Then they settle all the accounts. But then they tell us all of the accounts there that then they settle. They just say all the accounts. They need to come out and tell the public what all the accounts are. They need to give under the Freedom of Information. Right. Under the Freedom of Information, they need to give to the public the information and the newspaper and the information and the details that went into all these costs that they are bringing to us. The Prime Minister has stand up a day or two ago and tell the people when they ask him, well, he said that in our cost, money out of our pocket to settle this thing because the port will pay for it. And he say, well, when they ask him, well, how come he say that in our cost, nothing, when we have to pay for the lawyers them too? And when the money come for the lawyers, or how much, they ask him how much is the cost, he turn around and tell them, well, he don't know what the cost is yet because they not bring the number to him yet. And how the hell he have one total settlement and he will know that in our cost, no money. The man just keep lying and lying and lying. And we have the numbers here. So far, the UDP gave that man approximately $600 million as payments for the BTL and some of the other things then. We had the hospital that went from $20 million to it had almost $90 million. We have the $125 million that is going to be outstanding after I pay the $90 million believes now. And don't get on $76 million. On top of that, you had $40 million that was put into the port to dredge the port out of the government coffers again, free public money. You have about $10 million for the big building back up MCC where the man collect. So far, it's $1 billion. When you add up all those numbers, it's $1 billion plus other numbers that we're not currently aware of. How we, government under UDP and PUP, could turn around and tell us, the public, who are 68% in poverty, that they have to make this man to get away with hundreds of millions of dollars out of we treasury that is then not available for the government to do the government business and service the people. And we're supposed to be grateful for that. I yield, Mr. Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir.
I just hope that the Belizean people who have ears to hear and eyes to see, are beginning to see the ills with Mr. Ashcroft and the two-party system that we have in this country, right? I will divert a little bit to the election mode. There are some news media in this country right now are saying they want to know who Ashcroft will throw his money to, right? Because of what is going on. So the scenario is that he will throw his support for the PUP because of the sweetheart deal he's getting again, the money he's getting again from the taxpayers of this country. The chairman mentioned just now about the money he got from BTL, the deals he got with, and we could go back from BTL, we could go back from other deals since that man became a Belizean. As far as I could remember, that man has been sucking this country, sucking it. That's why we cannot have a good healthcare system. That's why we cannot have good paying jobs. That's why we cannot have factories in our country. That's why we are so much in poverty. He is part and parcel of the cause of that. Because every time you turn around, whenever a government is in power and the UDP in power, he find a way to get money, to take them to court and they pay their little deals because they got attorneys up there, yang, especially the ones here in Belize. They rob from the poor people and give it to Ashcraft, torture of permanent attorney in this country. That's what they have been doing, facilitating this man. Just because that they know when this man get these 80 million and 76 million and 100 million and 95 million, they will get at least a 6 or 7,000 million out of that. Right? So, all these guys, like I say, and they call themselves patriotic Belizean, and they call themselves love their country, and they call themselves love the Belizean people. And we see the heinous things that they do to us, right? The port deal was a scam. As far as I'm concerned, it was a scam to reward Luke Spot, because he's a spot, right? And big PUP, and whatever he could contribute to the PUP, he does, because he gets rewarded to every time the PUP in power. That said individual. He was the one responsible to be dealing with Ashcraft, not the taxpayers of this country. That's only me, right? Because I know smart, and I don't know attorney, and I know smart, right? But I could see through that. He was the one responsible and not the taxpayers of this country. There's now 190 degree now that he get off the hook with millions, and Ashcraft again will get millions of a deal of a bogus scam, right? And here he goes again, my people. And I hope the educated fools will listen to this fool here, right? Because it's not right. And like I say, you educated fools in the UDP reward this devil. You educated fools in the PUP who we elect to protect and serve us. Elect to protect and serve us. This is what they continue to do to us. So, I say, but I just hope that the Belizean people are, wide awake, and they see what is happening again with this man, and they see through Mr. Briceño the lies he tells to this nation, because he's a habituous liar, right? And for the fanatics, you could take it and take any kind of way you want to take it. But that's what I got to say about the Prime Minister of this country. And I'm a taxpayer. I contribute to their salary. So, on that note, Mr. Chairman, I'll say no more. I have a lot more to say, but I'll lead over back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade. I appreciate very much your comments, sir, and your dedication and passion to looking after the interests of the public, or at least advocate on the public's behalf. Gregory, you want to contribute something for that part of the
Yes.
so-called.
Remember these anti government ads? They aired from May to September of this year, several of them every night, an unprecedented flood of negative advertising. 60 ads in 3.5 months, spearheaded and sponsored by not the UDP, but by the Ashcroft Alliance. The tactic was to publicly pressure government on the Portico deal, but also to force them to the negotiating table, and by September 20th, the government had had enough. It agreed, stop the endless stream of ads, and they can start to talk. After 2.5 months of negotiations, the final deal was announced today. In broadest terms, the government will pay the Ashcroft Alliance a shade under 198 million Belize dollars for the Port of Belize, and to settle outstanding arbitral awards plus interest in U.S. courts. One of those awards date back to 2005, the other to 2009.
But today, we stand at the cusp of a resolution of all of this.
The prize in this is really the Port of Belize, which goes back into public hands 22 years after it was privatized by a former Moose administration. The alliance valued it at 329.9 million Belize dollars, but the government paid 166.7 million for the port plus 600 acres of adjoining lands, for a total discount of 49%.
We can confidently declare that at this price, and if the current profits of the port can be maintained as they will be, the profits can themselves finance the purchase. In other words, there will be no need for any taxpayer monies to pay for the purchase of this port. And the $83.37 million will not be paid upfront, nor will it be paid all in US dollars. The seller has accepted an upfront payment of 38 million US dollars, while the remaining 45.37 million US will be paid with 4 Belize dollar treasury notes redeemable over 5 years.
And while the port is a prize, the footnotes are 2 long outstanding arbitral awards in U.S. courts, one of them 14 years old. Plus the interest and legal fees, the outstanding amount is 204.8 million Belize dollars. But the government will pay just 15% of that, at 30.6 million Belize dollars.
So the settlement sum is a reduction from 204.9 million Belize dollars to 30.6 million Belize dollars. For every dollar.
Mr. Chairman,
Wow.
Go ahead, sir.
I have a problem with this settlement. The problem I have with it is not being naive that the government got back the port. The problem I have would have to be under the Freedom of Information Act. Because as part of this settlement, we heard the Prime Minister said he settled a lawsuit for a little over $12 million under the UK treaty with Waterloo. Now we must remember why Waterloo was taking the Prime Minister to court. Because of Port Magic. And if this is so, we know that the Prime Minister tried to legislate the deal, the definitive agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be that the Prime Minister, when he says that there shouldn't be a Senate inquiry because there's nothing to hide, he's hiding something? Because if there is nothing to hide, why would you settle a lawsuit with Waterloo? If you did nothing wrong, you should not be settling a lawsuit with Waterloo for $12 million plus. That is why there's a Senate inquiry, because there's more to it than what the Prime Minister is saying. And I do believe something illegal happened when they tried to tailor that bill in the House. I mean, anyone would ask those questions. Why settle a lawsuit under the UK treaty with Waterloo if you did nothing wrong? You had to do something wrong for that to come up. I turn
Uh,
it back to you, Mr.
yes,
Chairman.
sir. Thank you very much, Greg, for your contribution. Very lucid. In addition to the observation that they're settling this lawsuit for $13 million approximately, we're finding out that the settling of the lawsuit for $13 million is peanuts money compared to the amount of millions of dollars that they make available to this gentleman. The POP just give the man 76 million dollars the other day. Not too long ago, they give the man $76 million. One full swoop. After they claim that they never had money and they couldn't pay the teachers, they can't give the BDF, the retirement money. They can't come up with money for nothing other, but they could come up with $78 million to give this man. And now they propose to get so another couple hundred more millions. Where the money come from? We not got no pocket. No, we not got no money in the treasury, or the bank, the central bank, in any vault where we could go and snatch the money and give this man. That you, the Belizean people, they want come to with higher gas price, high food price, higher what I call it, GST, and all different kind of means of hustling money out of the country itself to satisfy these things. With the port in hand, the man may get 13 millions a year for the last 10, 11 years. The Prime Minister said, well, the money when them don't get the man and the extra when they again, no one cost you nothing because the port and pay for it. We shouldn't give the man no kind of money like where then he try to propose again. Because he's lying to the public when he say we buy back the port. We're not buying back what belongs to us. Is he crazy or he think we crazy?
But Mr. Chairman, he says the Belizean people don't pay nothing, you know. He said that too, you know. I just sorry to interrupt, but he said the Belizean people will not pay anything. That's
when they bring things through the port and the port people, the importers there or exporters them pay for their goods when they either bring in or send out. Now who you think buy them goods? Who you think pay tax for them goods? What they buy? Who you think work and produce them goods when they ship out? Whose back is being used to develop the economy of the country and to run the economy of the country and hopefully doing it more prosperous than these fools are doing? How he and turn around and have the gall or the fierce or brass to tell we that it not cost me nothing? Are we that stupid? He really believe that we are that stupid? Well, of course, we elected him, so we have to have been stupid enough to have done that. After he was part of a malignant cancer on the government. And that I'm saying, not by my words, that is what the High Court at the CCJ and the Caribbean Court of Justice stipulated, that administration was a cancer on our society. And we dare to elect or re-elect this man and give him the opportunity to come around and do worse to us now and pretend that he's doing us a favor by doing worse. I have the numbers right here where I copied them. All the different, well, I know all, some of them, because as of right now, there are still other things that I didn't put on this list. And we are over $1 billion. You know what $1 billion could do for Belize right now? First of all, we know we had to borrow $90 million to build no hospital. We could have built that out of $100 million and still have $900 million to go.
We've gotten CT scan in all the hospitals.
We could have got all the hospitals then at $3 million a pop. Okay, how much hospitals we have? And even in the clinics, we could have put some additional support. We could have staff with medical systems and better. We could have put in the medicine where people have to run down, they try buy on their one when they can't afford, when they can't find in the second part. Yes. If these guys were managing our country as legitimate, hard, earnest, and honest politicians, I shouldn't even say it like that because them words don't go together. Sorry about that. I have to apologize. Them words don't go together. Nowhere in the political atmosphere of Belize, from the time we became independent till today, did can we say that any politician ever gone in a free government and came out worse than they went in, or came out just with the money when they get paid in a salary? They all came out as millionaires, and some of them as multi-millionaires. That's our track record. I don't think nobody can get vexed if I say that because of the truth. The bottom line is Belize will not get any better if we continue with this bunch of jackals, hyenas, and vampires and vultures just to fleece at the public trial, while the population, they get more hard up to try and survive. You, the people of Belize who do the voting, have to decide whether you want to continue to take your $50. I think we have Mr. Morrison here. I'm just going to let him in. You let him in already? I'm great. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good night,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Morrison.
Morrison.
Good night, sir. Anybody else want to chip in and
Glad to have
express their
you.
question, please, before I continue?
The issue I have with it, Mr. Chairman, is, as I said, the Freedom of Information Act with this present government. Because if he's saying that it will not cost the taxpayers a dime, something much smaller costs the taxpayers. Not one, but two legal opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Two legal opinions that they try to tailor in the House, that he just made a settlement of over 12, nearly $13 million to the same Waterloo under the UK treaty. So there has to be more than what the Prime Minister is saying, because that is not ringing a bell. Nobody would just wake up one day and decide that I will settle this lawsuit if you did nothing wrong. From the time the Prime Minister said he settled for that, he's saying, you know what, we did something wrong. That's why we paid up on it. And that is what needs to be publicized. We need to know, and I am hoping and praying that the Senate inquiry will get to the bottom of it. Because as I said, nobody settled a suit unless you did something wrong.
But the Senate, sorry, Mr. Brackett, Mr. Greg Brackett, the Senate commission or the Senate committee that's supposed to be doing this investigation is constantly being, like tamped down, and threatened. We got the unelected head of the government business in the Senate telling the rest of the senators them that they should only stick to the facts and don't ask no questions or go on no venture searching for nothing else more than just what they have before them. Then what kind of law, what kind of thing would that be then? What kind of investigation would that be? When in fact the focus of the investigation is to try and find out how that matter got to cabinet and why is that cabinet was being suborned and not given the information about the legal opinions, while at the same time, Greg, please put in Mr. Man for me. Greg, yeah, while at the same time, they're trying to pretend that the Prime Minister had nothing to do with how that matter arrived at his desk and how that matter arrived at cabinet when everything has to come through him before it gets to cabinet. Without the Prime Minister's acquiescence, nothing comes to the cabinet. Even the ministers, then, if they have something in their ministry that needs to be dealt with in cabinet, out of basic courtesy and committee, they consult the Prime Minister long before that matter is dealt with in cabinet for cabinet to make a decision on. That's the way the process, well, I shouldn't say should work. That's the way the process is set up to work. And I'm quite sure that's the way it operates. The bottom line, though, is we the people, under the Freedom of Information, because cabinet is supposed to be a secret organization or a secret cabal. I call them a cabal of conspirators, okay, who serves the interests of others rather than the interests of the people who elected them. And the others is among themselves as well. The Constitution of our country has an item in there that is called the Freedom of Information Act. Mandates the government to provide information for the public so that the public can be aware of how is it that their governance is being run. And it's not talking just only about the Gazette. The Gazette is one form or one part of it. The media must be brought in and must be allowed to under the Freedom of Information Act to get certain information once they request that information. As a matter of fact, another way that the Constitution says is that the Governor General, if any of our Governor General were to be doing their job the way they're authorized to do, they could ask the Prime Minister for just about anything that has to do with the governance of the country. And the Prime Minister is obliged to supply that information. That's what the Constitution says. But all current government officials in cabinet, including the Prime Minister, have no respect, regards, or consideration for the Constitution, the current one that we have. Which is why they keep violating it at every step of the way with impunity, because they will not check themselves or sue themselves. It takes a private individual like Ashcroft or the Zabanese or any other people that have a conflict with the government who have a deep pocket to take them to court and force them to do what's right. When in fact they are elected to do what's right on behalf of the people who elect them in the first instance. I'll stop my rant for a second and just allow
You to Mr.
special guest, Mr. Morrison.
Yeah, I'll yield my time to
no, you don't have
Morrison.
to. We'll have.
No. Let's give him.
Mr. Morrison, would you care to,
Yes.
or do you have a comment on this particular point at this time?
Good evening, everyone.
evening.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to.
Thank you for gracing us
come
with
on
your
again.
presence, sir.
Yes, sir. It is a great concern to me, the lack of how our government just ignores the Constitution in every way. Not just in that regard, but in almost every way where it calls for accountability.
Mhm.
And this is a consistent pattern shown by whether it's UDP or PUP, and it goes way back.
Mhm.
We keep saying we are a constitutional democracy, but somehow it doesn't seem to apply to the governance and to the input that our leaders show towards the citizens. So that is something, and that we need to kind of strengthen in the Constitution, how to hold them accountable to these standards and requirement of disclosure. I've
Very,
always been
very salient point, Mr. Morrison. Thank you
yeah,
very much for the
yeah,
observation, sir.
yeah. I always been concerned about. I know that government have to conduct some business in secrecy at some point, right? But I have always thought that at some point, even the most government guarded secret needs to be disclosed to the people at some point in the future. Maybe timing is the issue, but I don't think it should be put away and locked away, and we never ever in generations not know how decisions were made and what caused them to be made and so forth. And so I'm totally for somehow the records of whatever
Disclosure,
those
disclosure is good.
whatever those cabinet meetings and decisions and who voted and how they voted and what the debate and argument was, that those records at some point in our history become public documentation.
So
It could
that is
be 10
another.
years, it could be 20 years, it could be whatever is appropriate to protect the interests uh, of the nation, right? But
Just a small comment, Mr. Morrison.
yes, sir.
That is a part of the accountability process. That if they know that at some point people will know what took place, they'll be a bit more circumspect. But because they're given this blank card of immunity, even from the people being able to, because as these guys carry on their present mode of operation, they have the impression that whatever they do or say, the public have to accept.
Mhm, mhm.
They have no
Or they won't
public
even
have
know,
no
or
no
they
lead.
won't even know. They
Sorry,
won't
I yield
even
back,
know.
sir. I'm sorry. I was
No,
going
no. Go ahead,
on.
sir. Go ahead,
No,
sir.
no, no. I was carrying on when in fact I just asked for your indulgence for me to stipulate one thing. No, but I was
No, I
just
was just
adding on.
interjecting. I was just
Yes, sir.
interjecting
Go
as
ahead.
you were talking. But I was going to say, it is the public needs to know these things, and I'm hoping that, and I'm not quite sure that the blanket of the Constitution allows the cabinet to operate in such secrecy that it never ever is allowed to disclose the carrying on and the business of the cabinet. But I'm hoping I'm hoping that somehow in whatever constitutional reform we have, that there become a freedom of information act that would at some point release that information. And I do hope that our cabinet is required under its operating procedure to take minutes and notes of all its business and all its tabled matters that goes to the house. I
That is
I don't
currently the
know.
case. That's the way it operates. But they clean up those documents if and when they need to, if there's a backlash or some problems. That's the problem. They're not honest with themselves first and foremost, much less how are they going to then be honest with the people. They're running our affairs. It's not their one personal affairs or the affairs of foreign entities or other interests. It's
Or
our
private,
affairs
yeah.
that every step of the way they should have enough confidence and faith and trust in the people who gave them the privilege to operate on our behalf, and they don't. That is my beef. Again, Gregory, I'd like
It,
to ask
it,
if you have
it
something else
is, it
before we
is,
move on.
Mr. Chairman and my co-host, it is a major problem because you can see what is happening right now with the People's Constitution Commission.
Hmm.
This was passed into law, and what they should have been doing out there was, you know, greeting and meeting people to gain information. But it was taken out of context by the present government, who is trying to enforce that there is a referendum act in the PCC Act, which is ludicrous to me because someone wants to say that is as though they are saying that this bill has already went to the House, went through its reading, final reading, and was assented by the Governor General, when we know that is ludicrous. So
Right.
how can you have two referendum acts? That is totally disgusting and crazy.
Of course, on that point, if you gentlemen would allow me or indulge, um, our current constitution, until it gets changed, if it ever does, because I don't think they will succeed in changing it. Okay, that's just a. But the current constitution speaks of different types of referenda for different and particular reasons. There are certain things that the House is empowered to make changes of in the Constitution, and there are certain limitations under which only through a constitutional referenda of the plebiscite that those particular sections of the Constitution can be amended. So they are not empowered unto themselves. Okay, if all 100% of them get together and make an illegal law, it is still illegal. If it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. Okay, if all of them get together and decide that's how they want to have it done, because they're supposed to be operating within the bounds of the present constitution, which is why they are attempting to change the present constitution to something that is more malleable, that would allow them the flexibility to bastardize what the current constitution expects of them. With a new constitution that is more pliable to their bastardization of the governance of our country, they will then have less accountability to the people and more power to do as they wish without any checks and balances. There's nothing wrong with our current constitution. But still, they decide to present to the public and the world that yes, there must be something wrong with our constitution, and we got to find out what it is and change it. You was about to say something, sir?
Yeah, no, I do remember that there is section 69, which I believe sets out some of the inherent rights, and I think that the way they are trying to
69. Just a second.
Yeah.
69 just stipulates the ways in which the government, through the legislature, can make changes to certain parts of the Constitution, not all of the Constitution. You see, and a lot of people conflate when they deal with that matter because they're not understanding the peculiarities that goes on and the intricacies of how the Constitution ties itself together.
I understand that, but I'm saying if we, because of how the government had interject 69 in the last
changes that
in the
under the
last
previous
change,
administration.
yes, if I believe that if we leave
69.9.
that in, if we leave that in and we go and reform the constitution now, I think it becomes bought in,
Right.
baked into the fact that they could do what they are saying
But
or
not,
wishing to do, even
but,
on the very no, wait, just me finish.
just a second.
I
Since
believe
we're dealing with constitution, and since we're dealing with constitutional matters for tonight being Friday, and you're bringing up constitutional points, I want to bring to your attention that those matters have already been ruled on, and those matters have been struck out of the Constitution. They just didn't go about following through, physically removing it. The highest court of the country has ruled on those matters already. The Barrow administration was told in no uncertain language that 69.9 that they try to incorporate in there is null and void and should be removed. They also were told that Part 1, Section 2, Subsection 2 is null and void and should not be in the Constitution. So they just didn't go about doing their cleanup work, you know. But as you say, if it stays there and it gets rolled over, it becomes baked in, and people will just assume, okay, well, that's the way the new Constitution reads.
That's my concern. That's my concern.
But that is deliberately being done like that by them.
Yes, I understand, and that's my point.
They know what they're doing.
And that's my point, Mr. Brackett.
Yes, sir.
Is that if we don't address these issues now, it becomes hard for a court then to untangle it when we go through the process of do a constitutional reform and kept this in there. Then a court could justly say, a favorable court could justly say,
right.
People had a choice to make this change and they did not.
Accepted that, right?
So this is now the new constitution. So that is my concern about having these things drag along and not being addressed in an appropriate way.
But the reason why they were ruled null and void and unconstitutional and illegal, and was told that they were supposed to clear it out because it violates the fundamental of the Constitution itself. That is that the basic structure of the Constitution
Yes.
was being tampered with,
Yes. Yes.
and that
Yes.
cannot happen.
I hope so. I hope so. But my concern and my suspicion is that a favorable court, we have seen courts
Mm,
go, gone array
mm.
or astray,
But
or however we want to put it, but we have seen courts ruled improperly. And I'm afraid that if we don't address this as a matter, as part of this
urgency, very
constitutional,
urgent.
yes, as part of the constitutional reform that we're now undergoing, it
Let's not
could,
get caught,
well, it,
Mr. Morrison. Let's not get caught into that. Believe me, if we ever get caught into that situation where we start to believe that the constitution reform effort that is being instigated right now will bring about those betterment for our constitution and for us, the people, we will be caught with our pants down, and we won't be able to pull it up fast enough when it's time to run. Because these guys, I'll tell you, I study the minds of these individuals, okay? It's part of my forte, it's part of my strength, it's part of what I do as a living part of my effort on behalf of my country. I know what these guys are going to tell you. If they ever have a chance, they will say exactly as you said just now, but a little bit worse. The Prime Minister, the way he speaks, would say it like this: the Constitution will deal with those matters since we have a Constitution Reform Committee. They will then do what was supposed to have been done under the Barrow administration, which was to clean up, because every so many years they go through the Constitution and they update,
yes,
and put in and take out and modify. That's an ongoing process.
yes, it's a living document.
Right. But what is ruled as unconstitutional should not be on the book. And these guys will say, okay, well, since we do this constitutional reform process or CCP, we will handle that when we get to it. If the CCP doesn't address it, the Prime Minister could address it in cabinet, and the cabinet could address it before then take it to the House to be voted on. And if it goes to the House and is voted on and it's not addressed, some future government or somebody that feels aggrieved could take the matter to court, and the court will then make another ruling as they have done before, and these guys will just stall and wait out. It's a process, that it's a mindset with these people. Okay,
You're
and it's
putting a lot of faith in the justice system. I just saw a judge rule that the government building land in what is declared communal land, an infringement, and charging the government $6 million. So we see miscarriage of justice all the time, and we cannot bet that it would not
and that
happen again on
and
these
the case
issues.
you're talking about is a road that was being built for these people's convenience. Okay, forget them out of them or the place where they couldn't come from.
I understand
Adequately.
it. But then when we look at how a government attorney, a government
The absurdity. Okay?
justice ruled on this, is just the stupidity of our governance. Well, not
But
even
your
our
point is well
governance,
taken,
but
sir.
of our
Your point is well
legislation.
taken
Yes,
and
sir.
very valid. Well taken and very valid. And thanks very much for the observation and the stipulation. Because the Belizean people, at least by virtue of those statements that you have made just recently in that last comment, should be a bit more informed and better off for having heard you saying it. Thank you very much for the contribution. Mr.
Mr.
Wade, please.
Chairman,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, just before you go to Mr. Wade, in all honesty, I believe that past and present government have a problem with the Referendum Act and Section 20 of the Constitution, which protects fundamental rights, because those are the hurdles that they are trying to abolish. Anyone who looks at the reform
and
look at the Constitution can see. Right now, per se, this Constitution Reform Committee, they are trying to take away national security from the people. And, giving it unto themselves. And if people don't be aware of it, it will happen. So,
I'm suspecting that this
so yet,
Constitutional Reform Commission or this CCP will fall on its face eventually and will not succeed at what they were set up to do, because the way they were set up to do what they were set up to do was always intended for them to fail. That's a mouthful coming from me. It was always set up for them to fail. The bottom line, there are other agendas that these individuals are not aware of and that they are lending their credence and credibility to. And it is only after the fact that now, these many months after that, some of them are becoming aware of what they were being told before as being truth and factual. They are now starting to realize or recognize it. And many of them are despondent, discouraged, and that is part of the reason why I'm saying that this thing may yet fall on its face.
well,
Are
sir,
you
in
back?
all
Are you back,
reality,
Mr.
my
Wade?
thing is this.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Greg.
My thing is
Sorry,
this, and
Mr.
I
Wade.
will go to
I'll
you,
come back.
Mr. Wade.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My
Go
No,
ahead.
no.
My thing is this, Mr. Wade, and maybe you can lament on it, okay? Because in reality, when I look at the attorneys who are helping to so-called educate the people, would I want to hear from them? These attorneys who stood around on the bar and let this draconian gun law that is terrorizing the people of Belize as we speak, did nothing about it when they know it is unconstitutional. Go ahead, Mr. Wade.
Just Mr. Wade, before I yield to you, sir. There's a reason why that is so great. These guys go and study that profession, and they expect to make their money when those issues are taken up in court, that they then go and represent for their fee so that they can earn a living. There's a few people in Belize as attorneys who would step to the plate and try to deal with these issues, but not too many of them. They want to be paid. If the government want to pay them, or the private people want to pay them, or somebody want to pay them, but they're not going to represent nothing for free. Most of them, and you can't blame them because that's their job, that's their hustle. And it's unfortunate because the whole country they suffer the inconveniences brought upon us by these unconstitutional laws, as you pointed out in the case of the gun law, and many others, such as the unexplained wealth. Who do you think that on target and hurt the most? The average man on the street where we barely try fight. They don't target nobody who own a business where could always claim, well, that business profit, or that some business deal, or that some inheritance. The Brazilians not get targeted with that. The borrowers not get targeted with that. You know, most of these other people. So they make these laws, instead of make the laws that will be theirs, to get them in check, then they make the laws for oppress us and suppress us more. But I'm sorry, overdoing it. Mr. Wade, please, I yield to you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
I hope never make you forget your thoughts.
Well,
Go ahead, sir.
I'm telling you, these guys, you know, when I think about the things, you know, past and present elected leaders does to this nation and its people, you know, it's so sad, you know. It's like they are the smartest one there, you know, and once they get elected, they could do whatever the hell they want to do, and that's the norm, you know. It's so sad, you know, because you have people out there, you know, like I said, I'm not an attorney, I'm not this, I'm a dunce, you know, but I see through these guys, right? You understand what I'm saying? So my thing is that, you know, like you says, Mr. Chairman, is that who's gonna put these guys in check, right? It's only like the Ashcroft. He's gonna put them in check because he knows when he put them in check what he's gonna get, right? You got the Zabanese when they take the government to court. they take them to court because they know what they're going to get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see, the country has only a few elites, right? And these are the elites that sucks on
Vampires.
past and present of the two-party system. Then sucks them, and sadly, when they sucks, it's not them. It's not Brisenio Oil Company. I mean, gas station. It's not Dean Barrow Law Firm. It's not, not come out of them pocket, but
Mm-hmm.
sugar down to the poor Belizeans, right?
Yeah.
And until we as a people wake up and call these people for who they are and take them to task, like for instance, the last referendum that we wanted, and you see what they did with it? He didn't go to the house and with that paper and tear it up and make a TV show. I mean, for the public, right? He didn't do that, but they work other deals out so that Oceania referendum where 200,000,
No,
no,
20,000.
20,000 Belizean who wasted their time, right, to say what they wanted
Who,
to say, whether yes or
whose
no.
constitutional rights was violated because they
So
follow the rules. And
they continue to do because whoever gonna put their name there, you think we ain't care in a court for never push through their no. They work out with they sat in a round table with the leader of the Oceania and quiet them. Not push this and this, and we give him a piece of land here. Or see what Ashcroft get with all that deal? He get 600 acres of land along with that deal, in area where they couldn't find land for giving a poor Belizean a 50 by 90 to build a little cardboard house.
I'm waiting to hear what they're going to do with it.
Like me, I always trigger down and act, my business and my rant is about the poor people, right? What they continue to do to the poor people, right?
Mr. Wade, can I make a quick stipulation? I asked just now rhetorically and laughingly, but very serious, what they was going to do with that land. To say to you gentlemen on the panel here with me tonight and the rest of the Belizean public at home and abroad, that land is part of the $40 million that I pointed out earlier when I started my conversation tonight. The $40 million for doing the dredging, that is the material that was dredged with that $40 million. That land belongs to Belize and Belizeans. Okay? So my question wasn't just while I was laughing because I was being skeptic because I know that land is not going to end up in the hands of the Belizean people who deserve a whole lot, the one where, especially that Belize City, we can't get no lots nowhere else. That piece of land should be parceled up and given to people.
Well, too late on that.
They will turn around and come up with some kind of financier where I finance some venture there where somebody will give a little kickback and the land will get disappeared from us. You mark my word. Sorry about that. I'll yield back to you, sir.
It's too late on that, right? He already went public, right, and said what he said about that land adjacent to the port, right? Adjacent, right? So that is already disenfranchised the Belizean poor people who needed a piece of land in the swamp there, right? And I could remember as far back when that place was being dredged out, when sand had been pumping. Ashcroft didn't pay a penny
Belize
full that
government
land.
paid for that, I'm telling you.
But my people, you see who is going to reap the benefit. So I say that, until then, until my people make one change, 190 degrees change from these two-party system here, we're doomed. And as for me, what I have been seen lately with the constitution reform, I want to tend to believe that it will die a natural death, right? But I say this to say that, you know, these people should wait until after the ICJ ruling, right? They should have waited then, right? Till after the ICJ ruling, because when you go to court, you either win or lose. And then, like I say, the way I see it, their agenda is to turn Belize into a republic. And I have more than one reasons why I say that, right? But that's what I envision if they get that chance. But I hope and pray, like Leonard, I want to go along your line that that reform that they want to do will die a natural death. As for me, Rudy Wade, I don't see nothing wrong with my constitution. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I would like to see they strengthen it a little bit, tweak it, strengthen it. Like I said before, and I only name one, I would say what they should instill in it that we have elected senators, not appointed, right? And they enshrine in the Constitution that whichever government comes in 2025 should, not may or whatever, should enact UNCAC. That's only from Rudy Wade. So, like I say, you know, these guys are a bunch of scoundrels, and only the Belizean people could make that change or make that difference. Only them. Because if we keep doing the same two-party system over and over, this is exactly what we will get over and over and over again until we no longer here. Back to
Thank
you,
you very
Mr.
much, Mr. Wade, for your
Chairman.
contribution, sir. And before I turn over to Mr. Gregory Morrison for his, well, I'd like to ask him if you have a particular subject matter of interest that maybe since he doesn't come on with us all the time that he would like to throw it among us here. But before I do that, I just wanted to close out a thought that I had. Most people in Belize do not realize as to what the reason is for this constitution reform hula baloo. That's what I call it. I'm being very disdainful, disrespectful, and whatever else other term or word or expression that anybody else wants to use. I'm just using those because those are the ones that came first to my mouth. Most people do not realize what was the intention behind stirring up this whole thing. The whole intention for stirring up this whole thing was to get the public to commit sedition on behalf of the politicians them and the poor people them, so that they can get an excuse and what you call a pass from suffering any consequences for seditious conducts. As my cousin had stipulated one time, a few times in the past, they're trying to allow us to become what, Greg? Citizens?
Sovereign citizens.
And the purpose
Sovereign citizens.
the purpose for wanting us to exercise our rights of sovereign citizen is to aid and abet.
Because even though
Aid and abet.
they have a super majority, the
They
structure
need
of
to
the
pass a certain
Constitution
threshold.
have them at bar.
Right? And they're hoping to recruit us in their illegal, conspiratorial, seditious actions, and for us to take the blame, and they take the gain and the powers and rule us or rule over us with impunity. That's their agenda. But apparently they don't think that any of us Belizeans, either at home or abroad, can see that far. And feel that because we wear glasses, we don't see as far as we nose. I'll pass back to Mr. Greg, Morrison, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on something Mr. Wade had
Uh-huh.
said, and going back to the Oceania referendum and stuff, because I take a little bit of exception to it, and under different color and conditions. I don't know that that particular referendum was a referendum has to be conducted by the government, not by individuals and so forth. So what they did was to gather signatures. They did not conduct a referendum, and so I don't think it falls under the constitutional requirement of how a referendum was to be conducted, or such. So that's one thing.
On that point, before you move forward, could you close that point out by saying this? The Referendum Act authorizes the government as an obligation, shall, not
Yes.
may. It
Yes.
doesn't ask the government if they want to or not want to. It says they shall have a referendum under certain circumstances.
Yes.
And those circumstances are triggered
Was
by
met.
the public.
The circumstances was met there.
Right.
No.
wait,
But be
wait,
careful. Be careful, because
wait,
it was not.
as regards,
It was not an approved legal referendum. Yes, the
just a
government
minute.
once
Yes,
they.
okay, we're not. I think we're at different levels on the same point, but at different levels on the ladder. We're on the same ladder,
Yes.
but at
Yes.
different
Yes.
on different rungs. What happened is that the Constitution specifies under what categories or conditions or circumstances a referendum shall
Yes.
be had,
And it
it
also
stipulates.
says, Mr. Brackett,
Yes, sir.
who is to administer that referendum. It
Yes,
is not individual private entities. It is the
totally correct.
government. It is the government.
That's
And
a responsibility placed on the government.
that was not the way this signature gathering
Oh,
was conducted.
no. Okay, just a minute. In the Referendum Act, it stipulates that entities, individuals, as a matter of fact, not even a whole organization. Oceana happened to have been a whole organization. You, Mr. Morrison, or I, Leonard Brackett, or any other individual, so long as they
Yes.
can muster up 20,000 signatures to have a
Yes.
referendum on any serious matters that concern 20,000 people in the country, they have a right to have that referendum be looked at, and it triggers.
Yeah.
That's not my argument.
It's not the government's purview to decide if and when they want to have a referendum.
No,
All
no,
the
no. That's
shenanigans
not.
that they have been doing recently was a
That-
malignant. Oh, sorry. Okay,
That's not the argument I'm
Oceana-
making.
okay.
That's
Oceana
not the
followed the
argument.
proper procedures. They wanted to have a referendum.
They wanted to have a
They-
referendum,
they
but they
collected
need
the
to.
required signature,
Mhm.
and the required signature was validated,
Yes.
and
But
the
then
government wanted to have a referendum under this PCC Act and did not
Right.
want to finance a referendum
I
for
understand.
Oceana and then having to finance another one. That's where the sleight of hand took place. They promised
And-
Oceana that if and when the government has an interest in exploring for oil, then they will give them a referendum, not now.
Yes,
They
I
qualified
understand that.
now to have it.
I understand all that. But what I was, and I understand the whole
I,
logistics of
I would
what
have
happened.
I would have been maybe in disagreement with Oceana for some of the policies and practices and whatever else, but that's a different point or a different subject, you know?
Yes, yes.
Whether they
No,
were right or wrong
Go
and
ahead,
wanted to have it,
Mr. Morrison. Go ahead.
they qualified. They met the requirements.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My point is that Oceana has a right to conduct a referendum, but what I'm saying is that they, in the
No,
end,
no.
agree
They
with
don't have a right to conduct the referendum, Mr.
not
Mr.
to
Morrison.
conduct
The
them,
use
but to
of the word
conduct to conduct the signature
required.
gathering
Uh-huh.
to then
That's their responsibility.
call the government to task to conduct the referendum.
Right. Right.
That's
100%,
what I'm getting at.
100% correct.
That's what I'm getting. That's what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
getting at. But I go back a little bit farther than that, because I do believe that if there are natural resources, oil or any other mineral that could be gas or whatever, we should not be beholden to a special interest of
No, that is where I
tourism.
parsed. That is where I parsed the thing. Like I had said to you earlier, whether they were right or wrong, I might still have my different. This is one of them that I'm totally in agreement with you on.
Yes.
Just as the same thing, like what they do with the blue bond. You cannot
Yes.
parcel off some parts of our coastline that our fishermen used to use.
Yes. Yes.
So how are they going to make a living?
Yeah.
Nobody's paying them not to go and work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on
And
these things, I'm totally. That's why whether they
yeah.
were right or wrong. My only point was a constitutional point. That is that they met the obligation, and the government should have responded one way or another, and they didn't respond positively. They responded negatively because of their own personal agendas. That is all I was trying to clarify when I'm stipulated what I stipulated.
Understood. And not too many people. A lot of people jump and hug the blue bond. I'm one of the person that's very concerned about it for the very reasons you mentioned. That it
We
puts
lose
off.
we
It
lose the
puts
rights.
off
Just like
rights.
I
And
just said, if the government
I
needs to do something, they can't because they are
yeah
beholden to that and they're tied
yeah
in. Now
yeah.
I know
And
that we have literally your battery. Oh, my battery is something's wrong. Oh, okay. Oh, because I didn't. Yeah, I know that we have oil in
First,
Belize. Okay,
first,
I work
first of all, when we speak about the blue bond, the government violated the Maritime Act. So I don't
exactly,
even want to go there
exactly.
because our government should give no foreign entity powers over our waters.
that's my
And
Exactly.
we
point.
know that.
That's my point.
That is
And
the relevant point.
not only did we do it, that seems to be in perpetuity.
Well said, Greg.
Things needs to be done with time limits. I don't care what the time limit is, but it cannot be we'll just give you this and we cannot look at this in the future to
But the government,
reconsider because we need to develop this space
but
for our citizens and for future.
a responsible government would not be putting its people and its country and its laws in that
And
kind of scenario.
but then that's why we need to make sure that when governments make certain commitment that
And they
the
did that
people are
without the people's
consulted.
acquiescence.
The people are consulted, and I don't know what is the threshold to make sure that government, but we just believe that as decent people that gets the consent of the people, that governs at the consent of the people, they would come to us with critical and important issues. But sometimes they think we're too stupid to understand or to
No,
know
that's
or
what
to
the
care.
Constitution
Or
required, that they come to us, Mr.
well,
Morrison, and
they
they don't,
didn't, they
because
didn't,
they
they
say,
didn't,
so long as
they
we elect
didn't, and they
them,
went and
they
they
go ahead and
signed
what they
this.
want.
Exactly, exactly.
Mr. Morrison, if I may, and Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have a constitutional issue right now with the government because I believe the government is giving the indigenous people too much power. According to our constitution, the government is the sole entity with power over our land. And when you purchase your land, if there's mineral below it, the government can move you, pay you redress to get to the mineral.
Right.
So when I find the government is saying that some of these people down south sign with US capital for drilling, testing,
Yes,
to me
yes.
that is ludicrous. How can
I
these people make that
No,
decision?
but Greg,
You know?
that same concession on rights is valid for each and every Belizean that own rights in the country. That condition is stipulated in the when you get on a lease land in the lease document. It stipulates all of that. All those other paperwork. If you read it through, as I have done, you'll see that all those rules
Yes,
and
but
regulations are there,
Mr.
and it tells you
Chairman,
that you're
what
binded by it.
I'm getting what I'm getting to, Mr. Chairman, is it safe to say since US capital signed with them that all oil that they find will be the wealth of US capital and the indigenous people? So what
No,
will the rest of the
no, it will
country
be.
get? Are we
Remember
saying
who
now that
the government.
balkanization has started?
No. The
No,
government
because
took
that's
US.
what it seems.
Wait, Greg, the government took US capital down there to sign with those people, just the same way like how they did with the Mennonites, and how they should do with any and everybody else under whose land any minerals, whether oil or gas or gold or silver or whatever it is. The laws are specific when it comes to the when I give you one land title. In fact, before you get to land title, when they give you one lease fiat, it stipulates in that lease fiat extended documents, the other pages, not just the one page for the lease fiat itself, the extended documents tells you that if anything of substance or consequence is found under the ground, the government have a right to come in and take possession of it. Now, the thing that you're talking about, I'll try and point out exactly what you're saying. That is that the Mayans, if they claim so much land over the whole area of PG and part of Stan Creek, then that means that if oil is found only in that area, that means that they are the only one that where they get revenues from part of where the government get from the oil company, because the government will not be paying the Mayans, you know. It is the government that will be. I mean, it's not the company that will be paying the Mayans directly. The Mayans will get a part of the stipend that government get from the royalties. But 95% of those royalties will go for the company to recover the costs for the exploration and the cost for the equipment and maintenance and running the thing for whatever and until when. And they will get the biggest profit
Mr.
of their
Chairman,
private people.
I
Government
think
will
you're
get one
straying
small
from my
amount.
point.
No, but the government will get one small amount, and out of that amount what the government get,
But
they will
that
have
is
to give
not
the
the
Mayans
question
one
I asked.
stipend. No, I'm
The
trying to explain
question
to you
I asked,
how
I
the process
want to
works.
be sure of. I am saying, if we say down south, let's say for instance 3D, if there is wealth in oil and minerals there, can I as government say, you know what, everybody, you got to move, we will pay you off and we'll put you on an island?
Yeah, but it wouldn't work like that. I understand your point. You took it to an exaggerated level just to get your point across. I understand that, but it wouldn't work like that because the minerals are not in the possession of the land right now.
Mr. Brackett, it could work like that if they want to set up rigs, if they want to set up blasting zones and such. People could be displaced from their land.
Sir, I'm an expert in something that you call.
I know you are.
I'm an expert in something that you call horizontal drilling.
No, sir. That's I understand.
That is not the point, though.
I have
from my point.
Mr. Brackett, I've done horizontal drilling to lay conduits and stuff for electrical distribution systems.
Right.
So I'm totally fully aware of it. What I'm saying is that as a resort position, it could happen, as Mr. Brackett is saying, that people could be displaced from their land. Yes, there are other technology that could be employed that reduces that encumbrance and displacement. But as a fact, some people could be displaced. It could be storage facilities. It could be any number of condition that could cause the displacement of people on their land to address the placement of storage facility, drilling equipment, and so forth.
Mr. Morrison, if I may, isn't that what is happening in Gaza right now?
Man, you really pushed me far. You know, in Gaza, it is.
We
it
know
is
what
greed.
is below there, you know.
We
Let's
know,
not
we
hide
know,
the truth, right?
we know, and
You ever heard about the Ben Gurion Canal?
I think
you ever heard about the Ben Gurion Canal?
Yes, there's the canal, and they've
the
also
replacement for the Suez Canal.
Yeah, and there've also been oil found in that region that
23
Israel is
trillion,
very
23
concerned.
trillion cubic foot of gas.
Yeah, that Israel is very concerned that Hamas will get its hand on, and so this is not easy war, and it is not going. I wouldn't even call it war because
it's not going to end well
it's a
either.
massacre.
It is
But,
if it is a war, it is an asymmetrical war that's going on, that's massacring innocent people.
You got 2 more minutes there, Leonard. 2 more minutes, Leonard. Mr. Chairman.
One point.
Mr. Chairman, you got 2 more minutes there.
I'm going to yield back to you, Mr. Wade.
No.
Okay, thank you. One point.
Go ahead.
What's happening when the government took the U.S. capital to go down to the Mayans and negotiate with the Mayans? It was not a negotiation that took place. It was just going down there to sign some documents so that the Mayans, they can see that, yes, they are part of the signing of the deal between the government and this U.S. company. Okay? The Mayans have no authority. They have no power. They have no say. The government have the final say and the authority.
But
if,
Mr.
even,
Chairman,
Mr.
you're
Mr.
speaking out of
I-
context.
don't cut me off. Even the Caribbean
But
Court of
Mr.
Justice.
Chairman,
Just make I finish the
the
word. Make I get the
government
word out of my mouth.
said
Make I
the
get the word out of my
Mayans
mouth.
signed
Make I
with
get the
US
word out of my mouth.
capital.
Even the Caribbean Court of Justice, who so-called found the Mayans' rights to be appropriate according to them, because they weren't given any additional information, stated the fundamental facts that it is the government of the country. You only have one government and one constitution. It is the government of the country that holds the power and the authority to deal with those matters, not the Mayans. It is not like, well, the Mayans will have they will have what they call customary rights, and that customary right gives them rights over anything else that is below the level of the ground.
I don't think they
That is not
recognize
what was
that.
intended.
I don't think the
Mr.
MLA recognize that though, Mr. I think from what the way they
Mr.
speak, it's
Chairman,
much more.
They don't want to. They're pretending like they don't recognize. They're
Mr.
conflating.
Chairman,
They're trying to conflate the ruling into let it be understood that is the way.
I listened to what you said. Even the court says that the government has the authority.
Exactly.
It brings me back to the same question. If the government have the authority over our land and oil is found down there or minerals, why can't we move them and put them somewhere else? That's the government.
There's no need. That's my point.
And pay
My
them
point is
redress.
there's no need to do it.
No, I
because
just want
it's
to
not like-
hear.
You got 130 there, Leonard.
Yeah, Greg, I'm trying to stipulate that the
130
way these
plus.
people are presenting their case is to say
131.
that they want blanket cover control over every inch, square meter, and acre of the lands that they claim under their jurisdiction for their customary use. And their customary use now include no digging out no minerals trying to eat like the big companies they would do. And if they're going to do, they have to come and get permission from them. They're conflating. I'm saying to the general public and my colleagues here on this show that, okay, let me say something else. Do we know, or do people realize that this company had been over in Belize before exploring and took back the equipment across the border to Guatemala?
Sir, that is beyond the point I'm stating.
Yes, but I'm saying something
The
different.
point I am stating is simple, and we need to stick to the point. The government was taken to court because they built a road to their land. They have to pay $6 million, right?
Yes.
That was awarded. So what would stop the government from relocating these people if there is wealth down there for Belize?
The government
I don't
cannot
care
and should not
how
do that.
you
Is my
want
point to you.
say it.
I'm saying to you, the government
has
should
the
not
total
do that.
authority.
And does not have the power to relocate those people. We not do no reservation with nobody like when they do that states and other places. We will relocate and put the people behind any reserve where you want. That's not going to happen in Belize, my brother. Unless we don't understand the laws in Belize, that is not going to happen.
But
that
I
is not
just
what
want
is
I just
intended.
want to point out that the British did put the Mayans on reservation at some point in the history of the country.
Would you? Okay, I'm going to rebut that by saying they never
You can't
did put them on
rebut.
reservation.
They did. They
What they did-
declared zones
Yeah.
for where they could. They didn't physically move them, but they
Okay,
declared
okay,
zones
okay.
for
But-
where they could be
Okay,
placed. could be
you're
stayed.
coming down my side now. But what I'm saying to you is that they did that to dispossess them of the lands that they wanted for these free flow land entrepreneurs, like the filibusters, them who were buying lands from Belize for 5 cents an acre. Okay? Foreigners who were coming into the country at that time, buying up big tracts of land, and the government was selling it to them because under the British system at that time, the Mayans had no right to no tenure to lands or nothing like what they're trying to claim now. This is a new configuration and a new issue that they're trying to claim because of political stuff that the present government, and since we get independence and then they run for their seats in that area, the politicians are suborning these people, and these people are getting influence with the politicians. And everything that we are looking at and dealing with today is a different ball game, a different ball of wax. My point still remains the same. The government will not and should not move anybody off of their land to get to whatever resources underneath there in terms of oil, for example, with
You're
the
making a
US
blanket
capital.
You're making a blanket statement, and
Wait,
that's not true.
wait,
That's
wait,
not true, Mr.
wait.
Mr. Brackett.
It's
Because
not true. That's
even if
why I was
even
stating
if it
it.
happens with one
It's
person,
not
even if
true.
one person has to move to accommodate
I'm saying there is no need for
infrastructure.
that. I keep
Come on,
repeating myself at ad
if
nauseum,
you
and
have
I
to
can't
if
get
you
the
have
point across.
Mr. Brackett, if you have to, we are all familiar with horizontal drilling and all those. If
There's
you
no
think,
need.
let's say there's a
Nobody.
gold mine, Mr. Brackett. Let's back up.
No, you're talking a different
Then, then,
conclusion.
then it's the same
A
thing.
goal, because a goal mine, you gotta go move people to take out
Okay,
the top at the reserve where the
That's
goal
all
is,
we're
get
saying.
down to
That's
where the
all we're
goal is.
saying.
It's
That's
different
all we're
from
saying.
it's
No,
different from
Mr. Brackett.
horizontal drilling. And
Mr. Brackett,
but I was trying
you
to
are
say earlier. I was
fixated. You
no
are
wait, yeah,
fixated
come on.
on
Let me finish
oil
say what I was trying
drilling.
to say though,
But
because
but
you and my cousin cut me off just now when I was trying to explain something that would have
okay.
made it very clear to you guys what I was trying to say, and you never got the understanding of what I was trying to
I
say because
understood what you were saying.
yes, but
I
let me
I
finish.
know
Okay, wait,
I
just a
am
minute.
familiar.
May I?
You
You
will
do
go
not
back
have
to
to,
this drawn out
but
long
you
precipice
can not
of
make a finish.
the
You're getting at
ICJ and all
you're getting
that.
at the,
That is not
you're not
needed.
letting me talk.
We are
You keep talking
speaking
over me and not make I get
reality
one word
in
out. How
2
that can
minutes.
work?
Can or cannot
You the
they
kill the
move
time.
them
The same
if
time when they
wealth
complain
is
about the
there?
kill. Make a finish say what I try to say. For how long I try to say it and I still can't get to say it yet? That's not committee. Committee is give and take and share. I'm trying to say that the Guatemalan company that was over outside doing the research initially that had to leave because the matter went to court and took so long to get resolved, and they took back the equipment and stuff and went back across to Guatemala. Do you know that those people could have stood from over the other side of the river there and drilled into Fui, part of the oil bed, and suck out Fui all dry like what Saddam did with Kuwait, without having to come back across the Belize? I'm saying to you that if they're in Belize, no care what, anybody house there, if they house the rape on top of the center of the reservoir of oil or gas or whatever it is, they don't have to move their house. You could go a mile and 10 miles away and start drill from that distance away and do the horizontal drilling and go down to a certain depth and go crossway or go diagonally across and get out what you need to without any people up the top. They know where the hell they go on below there. What's my point?
Mr. Brackett, we're aware of that.
You might be aware of it, sir. The people them that are listening to our show don't know anything about that kind of stuff there. So when we try to explain it, we have to explain it. We have to get the words out of our mouth to make people hear what we say, and to make what we say be credible, provide the evidence and the knowledge and the information.
Let me just mention one point, because one of my concerns. Let me mention one point.
My
As you
concept remains the same.
One person at a time, though. I think
my concept remains the same. I don't want to hear about style drilling, top drilling, backway drilling, no drilling. As a government who has per se the court the right to our land, can they move you if they wanted to get the wealth below?
Yes,
Simple. No drawing out back and forth. I've seen it done before. That's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, they can.
Who is arguing against that, Greg? Who is saying that they don't have the power and the authority when I just stipulated that the court at the highest level recognized that authority? What part of that you wasn't listening to and hearing because you was arguing back and forward instead of trying to listen to what
I thought you said the government can't do that and they will not do that.
I'm saying it shouldn't have to do that. There's no need because there are ways to deal with those issues and resolve those issues. And I was trying to explain how you go about doing it. That's all.
Let's not rehash that. One of my concern, though, is if we don't address the.
Mr. Morrison, just for a second, I just want, in the interest of the public as well as for us on the panel, normally we would have been past our time. We'll take another 10 minutes. We'll take another 10 minutes, just so Mr. Morrison could get the thought across that I'd offered him. And then if we have any other comment, then maybe we'll figure out what we do. But we can't go.
I was drawing your attention to that we were going over the.
I was hearing you.
Go ahead, Mr. Morrison.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Master. Sorry, I hope you
Okay.
didn't lost the thought,
No,
sir.
no, no. One of my concern is as we look at the concern that Oceana had placed and about drilling and creating problems in the ocean and so forth, spills and stuff. It is a real and credible concern. We have seen it happen in the Gulf of Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
But also, one of the point I have made is that Guatemala is continuing to do seismic studies within their area of the sea, which is adjacent to Belize Sea. And as you had mentioned, Mr. Brackett, with horizontal drilling, you could
Mm-hmm.
stick pipes down and it could enter into Belize territory. It doesn't even have to enter into Belize territory because oil is in a pool.
It's
It's
fungible.
like a
It's
it's
fungible.
like a lake. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
lake.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you stick it here, it's going to drain what's sitting on the
Wherever.
other side of that lake, right? It
That's why I
it
brought up
it, it,
the Kuwait and the Saddam
it yeah, it
crisis, because that's what took
exactly.
place
Yeah. So you don't have to actually place your equipment or your pipe in that
directly
area.
above.
You just have to go into that lake like a pool. The pool is
Mm-hmm.
shared by two neighbors, right, with a
Mm-hmm.
fence. And you could just go in there and start sucking it out and take lower the level of that entire pool by sucking it out.
Which
So
was
I
my
am
concern. That was my
so so
concern, that
so
we are pushing out the
let,
people in that are
let
white.
me finish, sir. Let me
Go
finish,
ahead.
sir.
Yes, sir.
And so Belize need to be cognizant that Guatemala is making these seismic studies and are going to be exploring for oil
Giving
and will
contracts.
be
They're
and
giving out
will
contracts.
yes and will be drilling. And so Belize need to make sure and be prudent. And that's why I'm not against us getting our fair share and doing what we need to do and not be beholden
Mm-hmm.
to these special interests, tourism people that doesn't even pay the government their fair taxes because they book these hotels and reservations in the United States on credit
And the
cards,
money stays
and the
over here,
money stays over here and doesn't go into Belize at all, and
and
we don't
we don't get the
our
foreign
taxes,
reserves.
we don't get anything on it. And so for that interest to be trying to speak for all of Belize and presenting this referendum that we shouldn't be doing drilling is of great concern to me when the benefit that they are getting. Yes, there are
Guys,
fishers
I
and
have to
those
take
people.
an exit. My earpiece is dying. My
Yes.
earpiece is dying, guys.
Okay, Greg.
Okay.
Right.
So please go ahead. Please, someone else take over now. But that was my
Go ahead.
concern.
Oh, Greg said he had to leave, huh?
Oh, okay. Okay. So
I was
what I was
go ahead, sir.
so
Go ahead.
my concern is then that we don't make ourselves so beholden to that special interest, right, of tourism board that really doesn't do their share for the country and have them dictate the policies that could be of greater benefit to the entire nation.
My
But we
my
must
con-
do it, but we
sorry.
must do it prudently.
Yes, sir. But my concern would be that our political leadership and our governance people are only interested in figuring out how they can personally benefit. I wish we would have people in our government that is looking after the interests of the country as a whole and think about these things and work on these things with serious country first mindset. And my concern is that I personally know we have oil, okay? Because I used to work for Bechtel, and in Bechtel, NFO, as well as Bechtel Mines and Minerals Division, under which the Nuclear Facilities Division came, that I used to work for as well. So I'm pretty much familiar with a lot of these different things because we used to deal with the Saudi Arabia oil fields and on behalf of Saudi Arabia through Bechtel and other things. So my concern is that our people are too easily suborned for a little bit of nothing, and they will sell us out for a little bit of nothing. I see the situation happening in Guyana right now. Okay, the Guyanese government sold out their country for what in Belize would be considered as big money, but actually is peanuts money compared to the value of the assets that they made available to these other foreign companies to come and explore and exploit.
Right.
They're not getting back their fair share. Even
Yeah.
though what they're getting is a big amount of money under
Yeah.
the normal circumstance,
Yeah.
it's small compared to what they're deserving to get. I
What they
see our
deserve.
country as being in a same situation where anytime Dick and Harry could come and suborn for we people, just like because in fact I don't have to go away to Guyana. The present B&E company has taken out oil out of our company, out of our country, has always been taken out and registering more, I mean less than what they are actually taking out of the country.
Well,
And
that, sir, is because of our own local corruption. Because there's somebody there to monitor what's going on, and
the
that
company
person
was
needs.
set up. The company was set up under the guise of Mr. Price nephew being part of the part of the board of the company,
Mhm.
through whom the Belizean part of the returns was being facilitated,
Mhm.
and all of that money went instead of went into any of the local banks, it went into the credit union.
Well, I don't care as long as it stayed in
No,
Belize.
well,
That they go to bank or credit union, I
no.
don't
My
make.
concern was that out of the 100% of the assets, the people that were running that company was allowed to take off 100% of their costs from beginning to end and projected yet in the future, as well as
That's a different deal,
yeah,
right?
but
That's a
it's a
different.
way
That's
of
a
how you
different.
measure. It's a way of
Yeah,
how you
yeah,
measure
yeah.
what the country get back. The
Yes,
asset
yes.
belongs to
We
the
need
country,
better.
and we
We need
deserve to get better results out of the asset value than what we are getting. Is my point. Then
I
can they take
agree.
95% of the value of the property and put it in a foreign banks, and 5% come to Belize for Belize government to share between the government and the people them under which soil the oil is being extracted from, such as the Mennonites. Then give only 1%, and the government take 4%, and the big company take 95%. That's a bull crap. I'm saying
Well,
we should be getting at least
there need to be a
45 to
better.
50%.
There need to be a better sharing,
Equitable, man.
sharing scheme,
Yeah.
and even Guyana. I think they probably have 40-80% in the first set of
Which is still far
pots
better than
of
what we
wells.
get.
Yes, it's better than us. And the new government that just took over, well, some years now, a couple of years now,
Uh-huh.
a year and a half now, I think.
Under
They,
President Ali.
yes, they have made even more progressive and beneficial deals towards the government and the people of Guyana
But they have
versus what
also
was agreed. But now
they put some
proven
additional,
finding. They have
yeah,
proven finding,
yeah, they have
and so the deal is you're not just going out there
exploring.
not knowing what.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
something there, and I
Mhm.
think the first one had 20 billion barrels of, and then there's like two more that they
No, they have
suspect are even.
trillions. The man ain't got trillions now. That's why Venezuela
That's
want to
what I'm
take
saying.
over.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And they have two more
That is
areas that
still
they have
pending. That are pending.
that they're getting ready
Hmm.
to look at, that they suspect that will have even more, much more.
And Mr.
Uh,
Brisson, you not have the ballers to come out and say that that is what he's after. Because if he come out and speak clearly to the people, okay,
Britannia.
very likely. No, I'm talking about our country now.
Uh-huh.
Why he didn't want Oceana to have that referendum? Because Oceana very likely would have won that referendum and would have binded the hands of the government, as you
Oh
stipulated
well,
already. You cannot pay
I
a
don't want
cost to farmers.
that referendum
Right,
either,
right.
Mr.
Well,
Brackett.
no, I
I
wasn't saying that I wanted it. I didn't. My thoughts are along the same trend as
Because I don't
as
want
yourself.
I don't
I'm
want
saying
Oceania to tie
I'm
the
saying
hands of
that
government
no, I was just
with
explaining though
this
why
with
Mr.
these.
Senor decided to break the constitution and to do what he's doing. He could have done it differently, and we could have ended up winning that referendum.
Yeah, yeah, he could have
Tell
he
the
could
people
have
what's at stake, what's going on.
yes,
But
exactly,
he want to
exactly.
do everything he want to do behind the scenes, and he want to cut deals with this one and cut deals with that the one, and pretend and take all of it for a bunch of fools. Like nobody else know where the hell they go on.
Yeah.
That's my
Mis-
resentment towards the
Mr.
gentleman's way
Wade,
of
what do you have to
operating.
say? Mr. Wade is quiet.
Yeah, sorry. Oh man, I'm in trouble. Mr. Wade, you could use
No,
3 minutes,
go
sir.
ahead.
You could
No,
use
go
3 minutes.
ahead. No,
No,
I'll
no, no, no,
reserve
no, no.
my.
I need to. No,
No,
no. I need. We need to close up.
you guys
We're
said
in
it.
trouble.
Like I say, the thing is that until we get a better governing system, we'll forever be in that in this situation that we're in, because these guys are looking to what they can get out of. When they prostitute our country, they looking to see what they get out of it, right?
Right.
It's always about, what's in it for them.
Mhm.
You never see they lobbying to get a factory from other, like a canning factory or
Mhm.
something that's going to create jobs, because they're not going to get any kickbacks on that, right? So that Oceania deal and everything, it had us to go that way because it was going to interfere with Portico, and the Belizean administration was doing deal with Portico, and they didn't want anything to interfere with that. So that's how they played off with that referendum. So until
Uh,
we
great
get rid of
program.
this two-party system, we'll forever have these hyenas, doing these dirty things,
Okay.
in our
Uh,
country, and
I
get
got
away with it.
30 seconds to wrap it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great
Yeah,
pro-
yeah, go
Thank you very much,
ahead.
Mr. Weird, for your contribution and your passion. So, I'd like to express our gratitude from the program to Mr.
Yes, Mr. Morrison.
Morrison for gracing us with your presence once more and your knowledge and input and guidance and
Yes, man.
everything that you bring to the table. Very much appreciated, sir. And on behalf of Gregory, I also want to say thank you. And
Thank you,
Greg,
and thanks
thank
for
you very
the
much for,
invite.
It's
and
always
you're
a
always
pleasure.
welcome whenever you could find the time. Just hit us up, tell us that you're available, or you'd like to come on, and we know you're all around
Healthy,
person. So you know,
healthy debate though. Healthy
Yes, yes,
debate.
yes, yes, yes. Thank
God
you,
bless,
thank
and we got to go now though.
Thank you.
I'll
you. Sure.
shut
Bye
off,
bye.
and if you want to stay for a second to say something else in the background, but I just need to close off, no, because I'm in trouble.